So we recently got our hands on a new F350 for the shop. As you can see, that's behind me. We got it wrapped and we've got everything that you can think of that is even remotely cool installed on this thing. Now, Addictive Desert Designs hooked us up with a very, very sweet chase rack for this, and we couldn't help but throw a ton of Vision X lights on it. So I'm going to show you guys some of the highlights from the install process. I'm going to show you guys how to install the lights themselves. Let's get started. Now, the first step in assembling this rack is getting the rear section built properly. If you have a helper, it's really useful, especially when you're starting so many bolts like we are here. With the rear section of the rack complete, you can get started on the roof section. Now, the rear section mounts to the bed and supports the roof section. You build the roof section entirely on the floor, you mount the rear section, and then you just hang the roof section on top of it. It's really slick if you do it just like that. So, I'm gonna show you guys how to do it. With the slats installed, these cross members installed, we can go ahead and put the front and rear section on. Now, don't tighten anything yet. Some of this stuff needs to slip a little bit so you can get the bolt holes lined up properly. In fact, you probably saw I had to use the pliers in some spots to get the hole to line up just fine. Not a big deal. It's thin metal, it doesn't take much effort. So let's get the front on, we'll get the rear on, and then we can really get this thing on the truck. You're gonna notice that on a lot of these bolts I had to use this alignment punch to get them started. It's really not that surprising. That's kind of how these things go. When you've got a bunch of metal that you're trying to attach in a million different spots, you're gonna have stuff that doesn't line up properly. It's just the way it is. It's like that for every manufacturer of every part like this that I've ever dealt with. So this is nothing out of the ordinary. Just take your time. Don't get too crazy on it. Don't get too carried away. A lot of the times it's pretty thin metal that you're trying to move anyways. You can use this. You could use honestly a Phillips screwdriver, a thicker one, and kind of cheat things where you need them to be. At this point, the front is all nut and bolted together. It's not tight yet. Once again, I've said that a few times, but don't tighten anything yet. Just get everything started. Now, the last piece of the puzzle here is to get the rear section on. The rear section has the sweet trap doors where you can store cool stuff like toe straps or whatever you might want to put in there. We're gonna flip this thing around so it's facing me. We're gonna put the rear section on there, and then we can finally tighten everything up. Now it's the moment we've all been waiting for. We're hanging the rear section. If you have help, you're gonna want it. I actually had a couple of guys in the shop help me with this, positioning it in such a way that it fits the truck properly, getting it squared up with the rear of the vehicle. Takes a few extra hands, and it's nice to have people watching so that you don't accidentally bump into the rear window of your truck or anything like that. At this point, we've got a few holes to drill. Thankfully, these new F350s are all aluminum, and drilling through them takes really no effort at all. You don't need to use each hole on each side. You can use about 3 each. So that means we're drilling about a total of 6 holes here. As you can tell here, I'm just punching out the last few holes, and we're gonna send our shims and our bolts through there to get this thing all secured to the truck. Now, as always, it's very important to make sure you measure everything. Make sure that this thing is square to the bed of the truck. There's a lot of room for adjustability here. You can cheat it forward or backward as you see fit, but all that really matters is that it's the same on both sides. Now I'm going to go through and tighten everything up. This is one of the only parts so far that I've been able to tighten everything up without any worries about having to shift anything, so that's kind of nice. Now I'm just punching out the holes on the other side, and I just went with the front one, the middle one, and the rear one. As you can see, there's a few different options there for where you put these bolts, and they actually even have a tire carrier that you can install if you want it. All right guys, so at this point you can go ahead and take the roof rack section and put it on the roof of the vehicle. I have 2 helpers with me to make this process a little bit safer. This truck's got a sunroof, and the last thing I want to do now that we've come this far is damage the sunroof. So I'm going to hand this off to them. We're going to slide it up, line it up with the rear bolt holes, and get this thing bolted down once and for all. Okay, should be able to just set it down. Nice and easy. All right, now you can press these buttons here, pop the trays open, and you can access everything you need to get to from there. So let's get some hardware going. We'll get this thing snugged up and finally admire our work. Now we're finally at the point where we can attach the top section to the rear section. Take your remaining hex hardware, put it in from the top, secure the nut to the bottom, and we can finally step back and look at how cool this thing looks on the top of this truck. As you can see, installing one of the coolest racks on the market today takes a little bit of effort, but I gotta say it is absolutely worth it. Look at this thing behind me, it's unbelievable. Now, if you want a link to any of the Vision X product that we installed on this thing, check it out below. If you want a link to the rack we've got on our website, you can see that below as well. Or you can visit us at www.headlightrevolution.com. Thank you for watching.